Imagine pointing your telescope at the sky on a dark night and studying a particular group of stars. Now imagine discovering that those stars had vanished as if they never existed just 1 hour later. How would that make you feel? Something very similar to this happened in 1952, 71 years ago, at the Palomar Observatory. At this facility, home to one of the most advanced telescopes of its time, the Hale telescope, astronomers were conducting a standard research project. Their objective was quite clear: to take successive photographs of a specific section of the sky to detect comets, asteroids, or other new celestial objects. On the night of July 19th at 8:52 p.m., a cluster consisting of 3 stars was captured. With a magnitude of 15, these stars displayed quite remarkable brightness in the photograph. 53 minutes later, at 9:45 p.m., another image was taken of the same region. However, this trio that had been extremely bright in the first frame was now absent from the second photograph. In less than an hour, 3 stars had completely disappeared. Yet, as far as we know, stars don't just vanish like that. Red giants and similar stars can exhaust their fuel and explode, while Cepheid variables can regularly dim and brighten again. But disappearing suddenly without any warning signs within an hour isn't normal. Even though it seems impossible, the evidence was right in front of us, concrete data obtained by the largest telescope of its era. So what was happening? Were we receiving a message from someone? Before jumping to alien scenarios, let's start looking for scientific explanations. Telescopes need a certain light threshold to capture images. No matter how giant a mirror you have, if the object isn't bright enough, the telescope cannot detect it. It becomes invisible to us even though it actually exists there. Scientists initially assumed that these stars were still in their positions but had dimmed to a level undetectable by their telescopes. However, this would require a brightness drop of at least 10,000 times. Even if this explanation were correct, a new problem emerged. No star can lose brightness this rapidly and at this scale. Therefore, the mystery remained unsolved. This incredible rotation speed creates a powerful magnetic field around the star. Through this field, high-energy radio waves, such as X-rays or gamma rays, are emitted from the star into space. These emissions are so intense that they can be detected from millions of light-years away. These energetic emissions from magnetars are perceived by telescopes on Earth as brief pulses. These pulses can sometimes reach more energy in milliseconds than the sun produces in 3 days. We call these fast radio bursts. So, what does all this have to do with the vanishing stars? According to the astronomers' first hypothesis, there might have been only 1 star in that cluster, not 3. Since this star was a magnetar, it probably produced a fast radio burst and its brightness suddenly increased. However, even if a fast radio burst occurred, it doesn't make sense for this brightness to disappear so quickly. That's why they proposed that a black hole might also be involved in the scenario. In other words, something like this might have happened. While the magnetar was producing its energy burst, at that exact moment, a black hole passed in front of the star, causing us to see the star both brighter and as 3 separate objects. How so, I can hear you saying? After all, we've known black holes until now as dark objects that absorb and destroy light. How can a black hole, far from destroying light, actually increase the brightness of stars or make a single object appear as 3 different entities? This is where a new concept comes into play: the gravitational lensing effect. Thanks to Einstein's general theory of relativity, we know that the fabric of space-time has a flexible structure. Every massive object bends space like a sheet. When a massive object, say a black hole, comes between us and a star, this black hole acts like a lens. Thus, the brightness of objects behind it increases, or their images become distorted. We frequently encounter this phenomenon, known in popular science as Einstein rings. For example, in a famous Einstein ring, the image of a blue-colored galaxy is distorted due to another massive galaxy in front of it. Or, in a photograph taken in 2007, 4 separate yellow points actually belong to a single supernova. The light from this supernova, 9 billion light-years away, encountered a galaxy cluster during its journey, so the image was split into 4 parts. Remember, under normal conditions, it's impossible to observe a supernova 9 billion light-years away so clearly. In other words, gravitational lensing acts as a natural telescope in the universe, allowing us to see objects brighter. Moreover, observing this effect doesn't always require galaxies or galaxy clusters. What creates this entire mechanism is the bending of space by massive objects. Since black holes are among the densest objects in the universe, they can easily create this effect. I know, the idea of a black hole passing in front of a magnetar just as it's producing an energy burst and causing lensing sounds quite absurd. However, we're missing an important detail here. The black holes we say cause gravitational lensing aren't the supermassive giant black holes depicted in popular culture. In the universe, there are numerous small black holes with masses equal to only 5 to several tens of solar masses. In astronomy, these are called stellar mass black holes. Although giant black holes attract more attention in popular culture, stellar mass black holes are much more important in terms of abundance and probability of encounter. For example, many people know there's a black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. Because it's supermassive, it's assumed to be the only black hole in our galaxy. However, when we include stellar mass black holes in the calculation, we know there should be around 100 million black holes just in the Milky Way. Because there are approximately 100 billion stars in the Milky Way, if we consider that 1 in every 1,000 of these stars has sufficient mass to become a black hole, we can easily calculate that there are at least 100 million black holes in our galaxy. In light of this information, returning to the first hypothesis, yes, in the 1952 event, a magnetar produced a fast radio burst, and during this time, any stellar mass black hole located between us and the magnetar might have created gravitational lensing, increasing the magnetar's brightness far more than expected. The same lensing effect might have split the light from a single object into 3, as we saw with the supernova. All of this happening simultaneously is possible. Afterward, when this stellar mass black hole moved out of our observation field, the magnetar would have become too dim for telescopes to detect. So, in the vanishing stars hypothesis, when we consider that stellar mass black holes exist in countless numbers in the universe, the hypothesis isn't as fantastic as it initially sounds. Still, this is just a hypothesis. Since we probably can never test it, we'll never know for certain if this is the real cause. Unless we encounter similar cases frequently, it will likely remain just an assumption. For this reason, astronomers have other ideas too. In another hypothesis, it's suggested that these objects might not even be stars. We know there's a giant spherical layer called the Oort cloud surrounding the solar system. There are between 100 billion and 2 trillion icy rocks there. Therefore, perhaps the brightness of these objects in the Oort cloud increased for reasons we don't yet understand, and we might have observed objects in the Oort cloud unusually bright for a short period. Now let's move to the third and perhaps least interesting hypothesis. This hypothesis claims that these objects never actually existed and appeared due to some kind of artifact on the photographic plates. Because the region where the Palomar telescope is located is close to New Mexico, and nuclear tests conducted at that time might have caused bright spots to appear in the photographs. However, there's no known official nuclear test during these dates. Considering this, the probability of this hypothesis being correct is quite low. Now, let's assume one of these 3 hypotheses is correct, even though we can't prove it yet. The vanishing stars mystery doesn't end here. Because just like these 3 suddenly vanishing stars, there are approximately 100 more stars that have been determined to have similarly disappeared from the sky over the last 70 years. These stars were detected by the VASCO team. The team examined all sky catalogs obtained since the 1950s and discovered that among hundreds of thousands of light sources in these catalogs, 100 of them appear only in old catalogs. This is quite strange, because, for example, a much newer catalog called Pan-STARRS contains stars 5 times dimmer than those in old catalogs. So these approximately 100 stars or light sources have truly vanished. In 2019, although the VASCO team said this anomaly of 100 light sources could be explained by natural astrophysical processes, they noticed that 9 of them were particularly noteworthy, because these 9 light sources appeared within a very short time period and simultaneously disappeared again. Even if any celestial event could cause a light source to disappear through natural processes, how could 9 of them occur simultaneously? This is a great puzzle. For thousands of years, astronomers thought stars were immortal, unchanging objects. However, today we know that each has different life cycles and lifespans, just like humans. We can observe the traces they leave behind when they die with telescopes. Actually, the death of a star is one of the brightest, most magnificent events visible in the night sky. Medium-mass stars like our Sun are quite stable for about 10 billion years, meaning they don't show dramatic changes. However, when it exhausts its fuel, it transforms into a red giant and continues to shine for a few more million years. Finally, it scatters its outer layers into space, transforming into a nebula. In the center of this nebula remains what we call a stellar remnant, a white dwarf approximately the size of Earth. This white dwarf, left over from stellar death, is considered a dead star because it no longer produces fusion. But even at this stage, a white dwarf is still hot enough to emit infrared radiation, so even a sun-like dead star isn't truly completely dead. Failed supernovae that can occur during a phase of red supergiant stars going through similar processes might be an explanation for these interesting light sources. Failed supernovae are events where red supergiant stars collapse during the supernova process, transforming into stellar mass black holes. In other words, a star in the early stages of becoming a supernova increases its own brightness significantly, but never reaches the true brightness of a standard supernova, and disappears from view as it transforms into a black hole. Therefore, for a distant observer on Earth, this star appears as a light source that vanishes in an instant with little or no brightening, like a blink. As you can notice, one of the most logical explanations that can be proposed for these 9 stars that suddenly disappeared is failed supernovae. However, since we know the stellar types and distributions in our galaxy, calculations show that this should be observed at best once every 25 to 300 years in our galaxy, so these celestial events are quite rare. That's why observing 9 failed supernovae within the same time period and simultaneously isn't very realistic. So then, what's the answer? In short, we don't know. The hypotheses we discussed in the example of the 3 vanishing stars can each be applied in different ways to these 9 stars, but still, we don't know. Perhaps, as a final possibility, we could easily get out of this by saying these light sources are some type of signal originating from megastructures created by aliens, like Dyson spheres. However, by doing this, we would ignore the existence of countless different celestial objects in space. Because these vanishing celestial objects could be dwarf planets that briefly gained brightness, or stars rapidly transforming into black holes in ways we don't yet understand. Or, who knows, perhaps we witnessed processes in the life cycles of certain types of stars that we haven't yet discovered. So I'm sorry, but I can't give you a definite idea beyond hypotheses about what the vanishing stars actually are. But at the same time, I'm not saying the vanishing stars are a sign from aliens either. Because actually, the essence of the matter is this. While trying to explain the vanishing stars, we first talked about neutron stars, magnetars, FRB signals. Then we combined all these mechanisms with the gravitational lensing effect, which includes relativity. Based fundamentally on stellar life cycles, we said there are millions of stellar mass black holes in our galaxy. We talked about failed supernovae. There are some mysteriously appearing celestial events, and we were bombarded with astronomy terms used to explain them. I'm aware of how difficult and complex it is to grasp each of these individually, yet we could easily explain both the 3 vanishing stars in the Palomar observations and the 9 simultaneous light sources by saying, aliens did it. But instead of doing that, when we choose the harder path, we find ourselves navigating between possibilities and truly trying to learn something. That's why most of the time, saying I don't know or admitting what we don't know can teach us far more than we can imagine. Regarding the hypotheses we discussed about vanishing stars, we definitely know today that neutron stars are one of the death varieties of stars. We can comprehend all the mechanisms behind them. Unlike people who once looked at the sky and couldn't make sense of what those bright fires they saw were, we know much more today. To continue learning from what we can't make sense of, or to just say aliens and move on, now it's up to you to decide.